Rated PG-13. Parents strongly caution.
What is the real story of the bloodthirsty creatures that roam the night, stalking our every move for their taste of blood? Tales of the undead, consuming their victims' blood and flesh, have been found globally in nearly every culture and corner of the world for many centuries. Many know of the lore of the dreaded vampire to an extent, but what of the original tales of this formidable nightwalker we have come to know of? Now let us take a look behind the movies, literature, and music about these fabled creatures.
Day for an exorcism.
Even 6 hours to drive back and forth. Mother wants to remember, so we trot 200 miles into the country and she stays at home.
Well, we're here, John, all right?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming back on the air after an interruption due to technical problem.
I ate his liver.
I'm scared to close my eyes. I'm scared to open them.
Kill you all! I'll drive you crazy and I'll kill you all on every nightmare you ever had.
The continent of Africa has had its fair share of blood-craving creatures that were told over fire camps to scare the children and even the adults. The Obeafo, for example, is a vampire-like creature of West Africa. The folklore mostly surrounds the Ashanti people, but the Dahomey people refer to the same being as the Asaman. In folklore, the creature may inhabit the bodies of ordinary people, taking over their mind, spirit, and body. Possession causing loved ones to be attacked surprisingly by their own family and community members. The Obeafo has been described to have shifty eyes and are obsessed with food. The Obeafo emit a phosphorescent light from their armpits and anus when traveling at night, which makes them easy to identify. The victims of this particular vamp were mostly children, sucking their blood until their body was fully drained. Fables such as these used to scare the children within the villages. The Obeafo were also alleged to have the ability to enter the bodies of animals to attack humans. They can suck the life from the land and weaken crops, making them a danger to life's prosperity. This would make the Obeafo more abhorrent than the more lighter fables about vampires and more destructive. Impundulu vampires are usually servants to the priestesses in the eastern region of Cape in Africa. It is also found in the legends of the Pondo, the Zulu, and Ngxoza people. The vampire is usually owned by a female and is later passed down to the dark priestess daughter. Generations of evil priestesses have used this creature. The priestess that controlled the Impundulu vampire made sure that the beast was always fed well, to avoid the beast turning on her. Owners who have forgotten the ferociousness of this creature met their own doom, once mauled and discarded. If the Impundulu vampire wasn't handed down, it was called an Ishalago, which is an ownerless monster that caused chaos undeterred. Their insatiable appetite and love for blood and sex also fueled the fear of this creature. They feed on humans and cattle, sometimes using deception. It wasn't uncommon for the impundulu vampire to kill an entire family or herd of animals, sucking on the blood from every victim. The impundulu loved feeding on the blood and the pain of its victims. If the vampire didn't kill its victims, a horrifying disease caused by the wound would kill its prey, as the feeding would leave you with an awful cough and permanent infertility. In rare cases, the impundulu may cause their victim a quick death, which was often called being slain by the bird of heaven. Victims would often experience sharp, unbearable pain in the chest or head before meeting their demise. If the priestess did not allow for her impundulu to feed, it would cause the witch's death, so a priestess always made sure her vampire servant was fed. The difference between the impundulu vampire and the other African vampires is the impundulu disguised itself as an attractive man instead of an animal creature, or the impundulu was seen as a bird-like creature. Some legends say that the priestess and the impundulu become lovers, causing destruction together and raining havoc on anyone who stood in their path. In cinema and pop culture, beautiful creatures of the night have become lucrative, sometimes compelling, and more often than not, gimmicky. Films and series such as Dracula,
To escape.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Who are you?
I'm Buffy.
Twilight, Interview with a Vampire,
Have you said your goodbyes to the light?
Queen of the Dam,
A fear that turns to horror. The irresistible vampire Lestat. A presence so powerful. It has awakened an ancient evil.
Vampire Diaries, Blade, Vampire in Brooklyn,
Gotta go.
From Dusk Till Dawn,
Welcome to slavery.
No thanks.
Underworld, Blackula,
Shall pay, Black Prince. I curse you with my name. You shall be Blackula.
Blackula, the Black Avenger, rising from his tomb to fill the night with horror.
and others have showcased the alluring appearances of these creatures. In Dracula and Blackula, you have two charming men of the night that draw women in with their wit, dry humor, and mystery, always lurking in the shadows or in their castle.
The Black Avenger, rising from his tomb to fill the night with horror.
In Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you have the Ancient Ones that are perceived as hideous creatures that usually don't see the surface world. That work is left to their descendants, where they can blend in with the human society at night, like the punk rocker Spike with his English accent and bleached blonde hair, or Angel, who supposedly has an angelic face and is tortured by still having his soul and the demon spirit living within him. Sorry to bother you. For those of you who are fans of the film, we can't co-sign that atrocity, but we can agree that the film was better than Twilight. Speaking of Twilight, from a European standard, the majority of the cast were model-like beings that could be among us during the day and were superhuman beings with extra abilities outside of being a vampire. Oh, and they sparkled. All in all, Twilight was a complete success story in the box office, grossing from $393 million to the last film in the saga grossing $712 million. Let us safely assume that there were a lot of closet Twilight fans out there. The twin film was directed by Catherine Hardwicke and screenplay by Melissa Rosenberg. Interview with a Vampire was considered a more sophisticated film within the genre, telling the tale of a vampire named Lewis who wanted to document his origin story, his life, and his thoughts. It went over well with critics and fans, and I bet some shampoo products for Brad Pitt, Antonio Banderas, and Tom Cruise went flying off the shelves. The project seemed more like a Vogue vanity show, but surprisingly had some substance, grossing $223.7 million at the box office. Interview with the Vampire was directed by Neil Jordan, screenplay by Anne Rice, and produced by David Geffen. Queen of the Dam isn't one of the greatest vampire films ever made, but Aaliyah was amazing as Akasha, mother of all vampires, whose lust for destruction, and Lestat, who led to her demise. Akasha had a deadly beauty to her, and you can tell she was deadly, toxic, and dangerous, but her allure brought you to your grave. The film was directed by Michael Reamer, produced by George Sadalegi, written by Scott Abbott, and based on Anne Rice's book, The Vampire Chronicles.
He reminds me of someone.
All he's going to remind you of soon is a pile of bones. We're going to dismember him, bleed him dry.
Really? Is that what you're going to do?
Vampire Diaries is a Twilight-esque show, absent the sparkling vamps, that was created during the tail end of the vampire cinema craze in the US. It is a show that is supposed to be more dramatically intense than Twilight and was created by L.J. Smith's popular book, written with the same title. Blade was a stylistic, action-packed horror film based on the popular comics by Marvel. The half-mortal, half-immortal took to the streets to deliver justice against vampires and still fighting against the thirst for blood that was a part of his own nature, in addition to trying to prevent the summoning of an evil god that needs special blood to awake. He had the shades, the revised low top, and had a leading black female protagonist that could hold her own as well. Both Blade and Dr. Karen Jensen had beautiful skin and intelligence. Blade's style of dress was intimidating, evoking fear into his prey while remaining cool, grossing $132 million at the box office and literally saving Marvel from bankruptcy. Directed by Stephen Norrington, produced by Wesley Snipes, written by David S. Goyer, and based on the comic book by Mary Wolfman. Vampire in Brooklyn was considered a flop across the board for Eddie Murphy, but eventually became a cult classic with his signature multiple character acting and designs. He played a Caribbean smooth-talking Romeo that was looking for his own queen of the night. An obvious spoof of Dracula, the film was finally understood for what it was years later. Vampire in Brooklyn took the most ridiculous tropes from past Dracula films and novels to create a solid comedy vamp film with an urban twist. Directed by Wes Craven, produced by Eddie Murphy, and screenplay by Charles Q. Murphy. From Dusk Till Dawn is another cult classic favorite that didn't pan so well with the critics when the film was first released. Directed by Robert Rodriguez, the film sets in Mexico with a bank robbery that left several police officers dead. Seth Gecko and his paranoid loose cannon brother Richard hightail it to the Mexican border. They kidnap preacher Jacob Fuller and his kids. The criminals sneak across the border in the family's RV and hole up in a topless bar. Unfortunately, the bar also happens to be the home base for a gang of vampires, and the brothers and their hostages have to fight their way out. Now the premise is ridiculous, but the film is actually an enjoyable ride. Blackula was an African prince turned vampire by Count Dracula. He reawakens in the 1970s after being asleep for several lifetimes. Once awakened, he causes a lot of mayhem and terror for anyone, unfortunately, who crosses his path. Created during the blaxploitation days of cinema, The audience was entertained by William Marshall's portrayal of the undead prince. Critics weren't as pleased with the film, but it became a cult classic hit and continued the beauty theme of vampires in cinema. Directed by William Crane, produced by Samuel Z. Arkoff and Joanne Torres. But most African lore of vampires didn't hide behind the allure of beauty as their weapon like the impundulu, or in most films, most took the form of deformed creatures that stalked the night to find their next prey. The tales of beauty would later shape human fables and cinema, but the first sets of tales was not swayed by elegance. A Tokolosh, Ads, a Sansanbosum, and Sansabonsum are all deformed creatures that have killed some of their victims through heart-pounding fear. A Tokolosh is a vampire that appears to be a baboon-type creature. This vampire creature is found in the folklore of the Xhosa people of Lesotho and buried in the southern plains of Africa. The creature description is detailed as short and bulky, with a high forehead, plus a balding head with shedding layers of hair. The Tokolosh is said to have shape-shifting abilities and can take human form, appearing to have a normal figure. In some tales, it will conform to the shape of a bird-like creature with a skull head. This vampire did not drain the blood of its victims, but it was a psychic vampire that fed on the energy of its victims. The Tokolosh was known for its sexual appetite, sexually assaulting and feeding off of the life force of the women, generally leaving the victim wholly ruined mentally, spiritually, and physically. Tokolosh creatures will approach women during the day in the shape of a human, similar to cinematic themes we've seen in vampire stories. It will often attempt to con a woman by offering assistance to her in return for sexual favors. If the woman said no, the creature will revert back to its baboon form, leaping on her before she has a chance to react and get away or defend herself. When the creature is in its bird form, it can spread disease wherever it goes. Its claw can create a lingering sickness that no one can cure. Some legends say that a priest can trap and destroy a Tokolosh's power by luring it with milk, then killing the beast. The Ads vampires are found in the legends of the Ewe people of southern Togo. The Ads commonly took the form of a firefly. If caught, the firefly would turn into a quasi-human form with a hunchback, sharp talons, and jet black skin. Once in quasi-human form, the African vampire would kill its victims, drink their blood, and eat their heart and liver, sometimes disease spreading as well, since it drinks from animals such as elephants and then feasts on the blood of humans. It is an insect-like creature. That lore originates from the community's fear of insects that drink blood and spread diseases. Killing is optional for this creature, although when desperate for its next meal, it is a guaranteed kill of the victim. The Assassabonsum vampires are found amongst the people of Ghana and Togo. The Assassabonsum lives in the trees of the forest, feeding mainly on those who wander through its domain. The vampire waits quietly in the trees, hanging by their curved, hook-like feet, and pounce on its unsuspecting victims. They rip out the victim's throat with their teeth that are made of iron. The Assassabonsum have made many villagers afraid to wander off in the forest. When roaming the forest for food or hunting, villagers look upon the tall, formidable trees, assuring their safety from the Assassabonsum. The Sansabonsum is a cousin of the Assassabonsum, except it does not have hooked feet. The Sansabonsum appears human but has features of a bat. They have short, stubby arms and wings. Some legends say that the creature had a wingspan of about 20 feet, with an emaciated body and twisted feet. Some legends claim they have claws and horns as well. The Sansabonsum caught their prey similar to the Assassabonsum, hanging from trees, catching their prey and eating the victims alive with their iron teeth. Vampires who weren't bound by beauty as a tool of deception have had a long history, draped in mystery and deeply rooted within cinema. Nosferatu was a German-American silent film released in the United States in 1929. The Synonymous told a tale of the mysterious Count of Orlok, summons Thomas Hutter to his remote Transylvanian castle in the mountains. The eerie Orlok seeks to buy a house near Hutter and his wife, Ellen. After Orlok reveals his vampire nature, Hutter struggles to escape the castle, knowing that Ellen is in grave danger. Meanwhile, Orlok's servant, Nock, prepares for his master to arrive at his new home. This film terrified audiences, directed by F.W. Marnu, produced by Enrico Dickman, Albin Grau, screenplay by Henry Galen, and based on the novel Dracula by Bram Stoker. Vampires have also been used as a symbol of control in certain cultures within African tales. Some of these creatures are used as ceremonial conjurers, like the Ramanga. It is a living vampire found in the legends of the Bastilio tribe located in Madagascar. Some legends say that the Ramanga is a person that performs heinous services for the chief of the tribe. The Ramanga was expected to eat the nail clippings and drink the blood of people in high ranking within the tribe. If there wasn't a Ramanga, the clippings were preserved until the return of the creature. The Agul is a vampire from the Arabic culture who inhabited cemeteries that stretches through parts of Western Asia and North Africa. The Agul is normally a female vamp who feeds off of the pains of those who have passed and also consumes their lifeless body. She is normally considered a parasitic vampire as well. Many African tales of vampires deal with disease, parasites, environment, insects, magic, and mind control because those have been the underlying issues that some within the continent of Africa see as their greatest fear. Horror is only an expansion of real issues that haunt our dreams at night and manifest into fabled creatures that worsen those fears. The lure of the vampire is no different. The region of the world the tales come from making no difference either. They all speak to a deeper concern and anxiety from all societies, which is why the vampire will remain a fixation in pop culture, cinema, and books. This has been the tale of the vampire.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
I'm scared to close my eyes. I'm scared to open them. I'm gonna die out here.
Kill you all! I'll drive you crazy and I'll kill you all on every nightmare you ever had. I am the worst dream come true.
Interesting. Interesting. Where's the Illuminati button? Interesting. Interesting. Where's the Illuminati button? Interesting. Where's the Illuminati button? Interesting. 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 Interesting. Where's the Illuminati button?
Hardly think of culture or the repercussions while busting on backstabbing vultures.
What good has my power done? All reality is being ripped to pieces.
To whom much is given, much will be required.